I'm Chris Hansen, right now on Crime Watch Daily from here in New York. He was a famous boy band heartthrob.
The ladies loved Russell.
And did he love the ladies back?
He loved the ladies back.
She was a Texas beauty on her way to becoming a top model.
She used to brag about him at first. Oh, he got all this money.
But their hot relationship would end in a cold-blooded crime.
This was savage.
It was overkill.
She was murdered.
Did you immediately think of Russell?
Yeah.
The former R&B star in cuffs after confessing to the grisly crime. The unbelievable twist that could get him off the hook for murder.
Where is Russell Neal right now?
I'm sorry.
Plus, why Russell's arrest is a case of deadly deja vu.
I can't believe this has happened again in the same family.
Then, a new chapter in the Making a Murderer saga. Explosive new claims from a jailhouse snitch about Stephen Avery.
Did Avery confess to the murder of Teresa Halbach behind bars?
Right now,
Andrea Isom, sir, with Crime Watch Daily.
Jason Matera with Crime Watch Daily.
this
I'm Elizabeth. I'm here with Crime Watch.
I'm Michelle from Crime Watch Daily.
Anna Garcia from Crime Watch.
is Crime Watch Daily.
Stay off my property. We'll find you again. We always do.
Hey everyone, welcome to Crime Watch Daily. I'm Chris Hansen. We start today with the story of an R&B singer's meteoric rise to fame and his epic fall from grace. For that, let's head to our Andrea Isom in Houston.
Chris, Russell Neal shot to fame in the 90s with the R&B group High Five. But now, more than 20 years later, he's making news for another reason, one that has people in shock. You might know his face. There's an even better chance you know his music. With top 10 hits such as I Like the Way, Russell Neal was part of the 90s boy band sensation High Five. Appearing on BET, Arsenio Hall, and even Soul Train.
They are High Five.
But then,
Russell walked.
a reversal of fortune. A supermodel caught in the storm.
He just kept saying they got in a fight.
And a tragic question, just how far can one star fall?
She was beaten and stabbed.
She was murdered.
Russell's beautiful girlfriend, Catherine Martinez, would stop at nothing to be on top.
She was very ambitious. She was very fun, energetic, and honest.
It doesn't matter how hard she had to fight to do it, it would get done.
And it did.
And it did. It did.
The stunning 24-year-old Texas girl had the looks, the energy, and infectious drive to be in the public eye.
She was actually a fitness trainer. She was modeling, and then she was training to try to become a boxer, a female boxer.
And bodybuilding.
And
don't forget that.
bodybuilding.
She did win some championships on that.
But Catherine built her greatest hopes on her two boys.
She was always around them, made sure that everything was okay. She was made sure that I played the food for them that was never missing.
She was a great mom.
Yes, very protected.
What wasn't working was her relationship with the kid's dad, Russell Neal. He wasn't working either, not for a long time. But there was a point when Russell Neal was at the top of his game, back when High Five was scoring hit after hit on the pop charts.
How good were they?
They were awesome. It was just an amazing group. So when you first met them, you fell in love with them. Their personalities, just young teenagers having a great time.
Jonathan Kinlock was just a kid himself when he got hired as the High Five's road manager. He says Russell was the dreamy one with the smooth moves.
Yes, I'm available.
He was cool Russ. He was the one who always was able to control his temper. The ladies loved Russell.
And did he love the ladies back?
He loved the ladies back.
In record company press kits like this, the 16-year-old is promoted as a lovelorn Lothario.
And one of the few that's looking for love.
But Russell felt High Five was keeping him down.
Russell decided that he wanted to have more of a singing part, but the labels and the producer didn't think that that was an appropriate decision to make.
So he walked.
So he walked.
Good decision?
Looking back, I don't think so. I think that Russell did not have a solid footing on where he was going to take his life at that particular time.
Nearly 20 years later, it looks like solid footing might finally come when Russell meets Catherine, the stunning beauty nearly half his age.
That's where everything changed. Everything changed in our life.
Catherine's mom and sisters weren't too sweet on her new sugar daddy.
Something about him, his eyes, it was just something dark. So I didn't like him from the get-go. It was just the way he came, like, you know, he was really stuck up. You ain't got no money, stop it.
But Russell's past in the spotlight dazzled the girl with stars in her eyes.
She used to brag about him at first. Oh, he got all this money and he's saying this and he's so cool. To her, it was everything.
Yeah.
Because he was popular back in the day, but I kept telling her he ain't popular no more.
Not popular and flat broke too. That forced Catherine to be the breadwinner for her, Russell, and their two little boys.
You know, using her money, he just, you know, she was the moneymaker for him.
But money was the least of their problems.
Was there domestic violence?
Yes.
Yes. There were bruises and scratches, and she would try to come to our house with makeup. And she would try to cover it up with makeup. You would see the foundation and everything trying to cover up her eyes, but we would tell.
Still, the smooth-talking crooner was always able to charm his way back into Catherine's life.
Russell kept telling her, I've changed, won't do it. You know, we have a family, we need to be together.
She always defended him. Oh, he's a good dad. He ain't no good dad, girl.
But finally, enough is enough. Catherine's relationship with Russell is as washed up as his career.
She was ready to, you know, do her own life by herself with her two kids. She put the kids in a new private school, homework in the morning. She had their lunches ready, breakfast ready. You know, you can tell how organized she was. She wanted them to succeed.
It was a new beginning for Catherine and the kids.
Happy Mother's Day!
But call it mother's intuition, Mary saw something different the last time her daughter visited.
When she left that day, she said, bye, Mom. It was kind of like when you turn the light off, like a little sadness. It was like she was saying goodbye, but she didn't realize what she was saying.
It's an ominous premonition, and 4 days later would prove chillingly prophetic. A dedicated High Five fan catches a glimpse of Russell at the Houston Police Department. The fan excitedly snaps these shots of the faded superstar, who's waiting to speak to police about Catherine.
He just kept saying they got in a fight and that she might need medical attention.
But it's worse than that, much worse. Coming up, paramedics bust in on a bloodbath.
The only thing I recognized about her, it was her teeth.
Now back to our story on R&B singer Russell Neal and his fall from grace. Here's Andrea Eisen.
Chris, Russell Neal had started dating a beautiful fitness model named Catherine Martinez. The two quickly fell for each other. However, family and friends tell me they had a bad feeling from the start.
There was something about him I didn't trust.
Russell Neal could have been the perfect mentor for Catherine Martinez, a young girl reaching for the stars. And Russell knew what it took to be on top as a member of hit R&B group High Five. But Catherine's family was suspicious about Neal from the very start. After leaving her mom's house on June 28th, Catherine is nowhere to be found.
That's the last time we heard from her. That's the last time we got a text message. You know, that's the last time any calls went out from her phone.
Then, on July 1st, a cool and collected Russell Neal strolls into the Houston Police Department.
What did you hear that he said?
He just kept saying they got in a fight and that she might need medical attention.
Paramedics race to the apartment that Catherine shares with her two young sons. What they find is the stuff of nightmares.
What was done to her? How was she killed?
She was beaten and stabbed.
Police say they find Catherine dead, bashed with a blunt object. And then there are the stab wounds, multiple strikes with a sharp object. Prosecutors don't want to compromise their case by saying what those objects are, but there's no doubt the assault is vicious.
You couldn't tell it was her.
You couldn't?
No. And I was just hoping they had the wrong person because it didn't look like her. I mean, we all know she was beautiful, but it didn't look like her at all.
This was savage.
It was.
It was overkill.
It was overkill.
And the ultimate low note to the horror, the sisters say Catherine's little boys are right there, locked in a room just feet from the ferocious attack, and their mother's brutally beaten body.
They heard her screaming for her life.
Yes.
Her little boys.
Yes. They were there.
They were there when it happened.
And I believe one of them walked out because he talks about it. He has
nightmares.
Yes. He said Dad had blood on his shoes, and Dad told him it was ketchup.
At the county morgue, Catherine's mom is faced with something no mother should ever see.
And what did you see?
It was, you couldn't recognize. The only thing I recognized about her, it was her teeth, her mouth, her, the way she would smile. That's what I recognized on her.
Her own daughter dead for days. Her heartache and rage all focused on one person.
Did you immediately think of Russell?
Yeah.
Without question?
I already know it was him. He was arrested. He turned himself in.
After Russell's shocking admission to police, he refuses to say any more without a lawyer. He's charged with first-degree murder and released on a $100,000 bond. Then Catherine's family's blood runs cold. Adding insult to their pain, they say Catherine's two little boys are left in the care of Russell's mom.
They were with him the entire month.
The man, their father, who killed their mother.
Yes.
His mother was letting them see him. He would hide and come over there and let him take baths. And that's CPS found that out, and that's how they were removed.
Yeah, that's how they were removed from her custody, is because she had them together all the time.
Child Protective Services immediately moves the boys into the care of Catherine's mom, Mary.
Do they talk about him?
No,
Never.
They don't. I keep them busy.
But then, 2 months later, a twist that turns the case on its head. Russell's bond is revoked. The reason? The crooner tells his bail bondsman he no longer answers to Russell Neal. His new name is Jesus Christ.
Where is Russell Neal right now?
I'm sorry. At Rusk State Hospital. He's trying to play crazy.
So why would Russell commit such a despicable crime?
Could have been jealousy. He could have seen that, she's about to, sign this contract and she's leaving him in the dust.
I honestly felt if he couldn't have her, nobody
Yeah.
couldn't have her.
Yet after a year of treatment at Rusk State Hospital, the Harris County Court comes to a different conclusion. Russell Neal is mentally ill and remains incompetent to stand trial. Up next,
You weren't incompetent when you were spending her money.
is Russell Neal now off the hook for murder?
He's not crazy.
No.
He's not.
Former R&B star Russell Neal currently sits in a state hospital ruled incompetent to stand trial, even though police say the singer knew what he was doing when he allegedly murdered his former girlfriend. And if this story isn't wild enough, Russell isn't the only Neal that's been accused of murder. Andrea Isom is back now with that. There's no doubt Russell Neal stabbed and bludgeoned the mother of his children, Catherine Martinez. In fact, police say he confessed to it. But this brutal murder case still isn't open and shut.
He no longer goes by his name.
What is his name?
He's trying to say that his name is Jesus.
Russell's committed to Rusk State Mental Hospital, where doctors declare him mentally ill and incompetent to stand trial. Catherine's family says he's crazy like a fox.
You sat there with her for 2 days to make sure her life was gone. And then you decided to turn yourself in. So you're not incompetent, you're not crazy, you know exactly what you did.
So has Russell Neal found a way to beat his murder rap? Not quite. Prosecutors refuse to drop the murder charge. He's ordered to continue treatment and has another competency hearing in August of 2017.
He's not crazy. No. He's not. She's gonna get justice.
Drugs, alcohol abuse,
mental
illness.
I had not known any of those things to exist yet with Russell. I don't know where this person that we're now sitting here talking about, I don't know where and how that person came into existence.
While Catherine's heartbroken family sifts through the wreckage of what Russell did, they wonder, should they have seen this coming? Maybe so, and they didn't have to look far.
We don't hear many good things about that family as a whole.
Turns out Russell's case has an incredible and similar backstory, starring Russell's younger brother, Ronald, and a young, beautiful mother of two named Stevani McGee.
Everybody knew Stevani. You know, she was very popular because she was so pretty.
Pretty?
Yeah.
Kind?
Yeah.
Beautiful inside and out?
Inside and out.
At age 29, Stevani settles down with a boy she's known since junior high, Russell Neal's younger brother, Ronald. But just like Russell, Ronald doesn't make the best first impression.
I didn't really care for him.
Why not?
Seemed like a very mean person, angry person all the time.
You know, he thought he was more than what he was, you know, because his brother was, you know, a part of, you know, High Five.
The family's doubts follow the couple all the way to the altar.
The day we went to pick out her wedding dress, I asked her, why Ronald?
You did?
She says, I love him. I said, I'm like Tina Turner. What's love got to do with it? I feel like she could do better.
Welcome to the family. That was my speech at the reception because I was Stevani's, you know, matron of honor. I told him, you take care of Stevani, you know, we'll treat you just like family.
It's just months into the marriage when the misgivings grow into regret.
She just got tired of him because, you know, his mom, you know, was basically paying his way. You know, Stevani's working, but his part, his mom would always help him pay his.
Then the family finds out it's even worse than they thought.
She had started telling me stuff, like bits and pieces of things.
Like what?
Like, you know, how he would jump on her and lock her up in the closet and whipped her with a belt one time and with a belt buckle.
She wouldn't hardly ever wear makeup, but if she put on makeup, she was hiding something, you know, a bruise or a black eye or something.
Then in late 2007, Ronald takes his abuse to a terrifying new level. After a reported wild night of booze and cocaine, Ronald attacks Stevani. The 200-pound brute knocks his wife to the ground, straddling her and spraying her face with disinfectant. Police take a report on Stevani's injuries, and Ronald is charged with assault.
She was done.
Yeah, she was done at that point.
Tragically, Ronald's not finished with her.
When he found out that she had filed for divorce, and he had took some TVs, computers, and stuff like that, and he left. And he called me that same day. He said, yeah, this divorce ain't gonna be easy.
And it's not. The divorce turns deadly.
Thursday morning when I turned my phone on my way to work, you know, I had this phone call from Ronald. And I like, hello? He said, this is what he told me. Bitch, get your black dress ready because I'm finna kill this bitch.
On the very day Stevani's divorce is filed, Ronald makes good on his promise.
I said I want what? He just told me so now my stepdad, he broke into my mom's house.
The horror starts with a chilling 911 call from Stevani's 10-year-old son, saying his stepdad has smashed his way into their home, dragging his mom into her bedroom.
My mom said, please run and don't hurt me. Can you please rush because she's crying and I know, they're coming, okay? They're coming. They're going to be there in just a minute.
The terrified boy pleads for help over his mother's blood-curdling screams.
She's screaming louder. I hear our mama trying to get out the room. She's banging on the door and she's screaming loud.
Then the call cuts off on a terrifying note.
Hello?
You shot her.
Mm-hmm.
Rescuers might have a small window of time to save Stevani, but first, they've got to get past a madman with a gun. Ronald has barricaded himself inside.
That was his whole plan the entire time, was to sit there and let her bleed out.
Next,
Ronald planned it to the T.
An enraged killer tries to run out the clock.
Ronald told my husband, you can't save her now. You're not here to save her.
And we go searching for the ties that bind two bloodthirsty brothers now behind bars.
Once we arrived at this Texas prison, everything changed.
Long before R&B singer Russell Neal faced murder charges in the death of his girlfriend, his brother Ronald faced similar charges. Andrea Isom is back with the troubled life of the Neal brothers.
She's screaming louder.
A little boy's desperate call for help. A young mom, Stevani Neal, shot. The assailant, her enraged husband, Ronald Neal. Now, a standoff. Ronald refuses to come out of the house while his wife bleeds to death in the bedroom. Stevani's sister-in-law, Denise, arrives to find the family's once loving home turned upside down.
When I got there, it was just pure chaos. I'm used to going there and seeing one or two police, but not police everywhere, tape everywhere. I had to make that phone call to her brother, to her mother, to her cousin.
Stevani's brother, Kevin, calls Ronald and hears this from a man he once called family.
He picked right up on the first ring, and I asked him, what did you do to my sister? He said, I shot her. And just like that, I shot her 3 times.
For more than 2 hours, hostage negotiators try to get Ronald to surrender. But he puts them off, saying, give me a few more minutes and let me get dressed. All while Stevani's life slowly slips away.
So you just gonna let her sit there? You're not gonna let them come in there and help my sister? No, I'm not. So that was his whole plan the entire time, was to sit there and let her bleed out.
The SWAT team can't let that happen. They rush in. Ronald fires 2 rounds at police. He misses and thankfully runs out of bullets.
When they did enter through the door, well, he had already used his last bullet. And so I guess they didn't shoot him because they realized that the slide was back on the gun and there was no more ammo in the gun.
Rescuers move Stevani to the front yard to administer CPR. Tragically, it's too late.
We was on the highway and we got the call.
Stevani's cousin Nisi is racing to the scene with Stevani's mom when they get the terrible, fatal news.
When she got the call, she just started screaming.
I'm so sorry.
She started screaming. She said she didn't make it.
And I asked, could I see her? And they said no, because it was a crime scene. And I told her I had to see my baby, but I couldn't see her.
Ronald Neal is dragged from his hiding place and arrested for murder. The Arlington police have a lot of questions for the crazed killer, but the first thing the heartless gunman wants is to talk to his mom.
Why do you need to talk to your mom?
Just make sure I'm doing the right thing.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Got these detectives right here that want to interview me. But,
you're going to wait till your attorney comes.
Okay.
We know you're sorry. We're praying for you. But you're not in this alone, okay?
Okay.
You need some tissue, man?
Yeah.
But those tears aren't for Stevani. In fact, Ronald acts surprised that his wife is dead.
Can you tell me what I'm being charged with?
Yeah, you're being charged with, for right now, murder and 2 counts of attempted capital murder.
Murder?
Yes.
She didn't die from this?
Yes, she did.
Huh?
Yes, she did.
Oh, no, I didn't hear that.
Ronald claims insanity.
He tried to plead insanity.
He tried to do everything. He tried to plead insanity. He tried to plead crime of passion, but I told the DA, no. I'm not going out like that.
But before the mental illness defense can be tested in court, Ronald makes a surprising turnaround.
When he pled guilty, what went through you?
He punked out because he didn't want to face the truth of what that jury was going to give him.
If Ronald Neal thought the judge would be lenient in his sentencing, he was wrong.
The judge gave him 80 years. And, you know, in Texas, that's basically the equivalent to a life sentence. He'll have to serve 30 before he's eligible for parole.
Stefani's cousin Nisi still doesn't think it's enough.
Life in prison, his family can still see him. We can't see Stefani.
What would you have chosen for him?
Give me a gun and let me shoot him. Let his family feel our pain.
Now the question, was Ronald's case a blueprint for murder for his brother Russell, who confessed to killing the mother of his 2 kids 6 years later?
When you heard about Catherine?
I can't believe this has happened again in the same family. I'm like, what is wrong with them?
The similarities between the two, eerie and scary.
Very.
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 Russell is still holding on to the insanity defense while being evaluated in a mental facility awaiting trial. We scheduled an exclusive sit-down interview with his brother Ronald Neal behind bars. We wanted to know, could the convicted murderer tell us anything to help understand what drove his brother Russell to kill Catherine, much in the same way he murdered his wife. But just minutes before our interview was set to begin, all bets were suddenly off.
When Ronald Neal got word that we were on prison property, he refused to come out of his cell, even though he had previously agreed to do an interview with us. And after a lot of talking back and forth between the wardens and other prison personnel, he still did not budge. But Ronald had someone deliver this letter to me, which reads, "I, Ronald Neal, do not want to participate with the media interview in any way at this time."
With Ronald now tight-lipped, Crime Watch Daily paid a visit to Russell and Ronald's parents in Waco, Texas, to see if they could shed some light on their 2 sons. To date, they have not responded to our request for an interview.
His family, have they ever tried to reach out to you to offer condolences, to apologize, surprise you? Why not?
It just doesn't.
That's just their way.
Until the former pop singing sensation Russell Neal goes to trial, any kind of justice in Catherine's case is put on hold, leaving 2 grieving families to pick up the pieces while sharing these words of warning.
Just listen and be there for your family. Pay close attention. Don't ignore it. Save them. I don't care what you got to do. If you know it's happening or you have already experienced it with them the first time, get them out of there before you end up like us. Please.
Now we want to hear from you. After hearing the evidence, do you think Russell Neal should stand trial for the death of Catherine Martinez? Sound off right now on our Facebook page. Coming up, Crime Watch Daily digs deeper into the latest controversy surrounding the Netflix documentary Making a Murderer, with explosive new allegations from a jailhouse snitch. What he claims Stephen Avery fessed up to behind bars.
Is it possible that there is some new information in this inmate informant letter?
Next. Nearly 20 million people watched the Netflix docuseries Making a Murderer. Many people left with the impression that Stephen Avery may have been railroaded into a murder conviction. Today, our Ana Garcia has never before heard details about the crime, reportedly straight from Avery's own mouth.
As part of our ongoing investigation into both sides of the case that inspired the hit documentary series Making a Murderer,
I wrote this book to set the record straight, show that Stephen Avery's exactly where he belongs.
we've spoken to one of the lead investigators on the case, Tom Fossbender, as well as the self-proclaimed villain of the series, Ken Kratz, to discuss what they claim is the real story behind the drama.
The jury saw the complete evidence. The jury wasn't fooled. We were able, through very, very strong forensic evidence, to prove that Stephen Avery was the person who killed Teresa Halbach.
Today, in an explosive new chapter in the ongoing saga.
After the documentary, there's this letter.
An alleged confession from Stephen Avery himself. In a letter, an inmate named Joseph Evans, who served time with Avery at the Boscobel, Wisconsin secured prison facility in 2010, claims that over several months in the yard together, Stephen actually told him everything about the crime, from how Teresa was murdered to how her now infamous car key really found its way into Avery's bedroom.
That letter says that the key was in the pocket of a flannel shirt and dropped out of the pocket. Does that make any difference?
That the key was in a flannel shirt that Stephen was wearing? Is that what he was saying? And it dropped out of that flannel shirt? Well, I have trouble believing that. I think it's more than likely Stephen threw it into that, in the back of that nightstand or the cabinet.
To hide it?
Well, yeah. Although he wasn't necessarily expecting someone to come looking at that point. But I think he just threw it in the back of that where he felt it was safe.
In other passages from the shocking letter, the informant gives possible new insight into the moments leading up to Teresa's murder, writing, he had thought Teresa would be an easy lay. He said that when he had asked her out for dinner or drinks with him, she had refused his offers. From there, the letter reads, he grabbed a kitchen knife out of the drawer and then grabbed Teresa. He pushed her onto the bed and tied her wrists to the bed. He choked her out until she was unconscious.
There's many parts of Mr. Evans' letter that are plausible.
The new informant goes on to talk about Stephen Avery's nephew, Brendan Dassey, whose confession helped convict them both. Just how involved was he really?
It's interesting, Ken, that he claims that Stephen Avery confessed everything to him, and in this letter, he also claims that Brendan really didn't have that much to do with anything. Do you believe this letter to be authentic?
I don't know if it's authentic or not.
Of particular interest to those who believe in Dassey's innocence, Evans writes about how Teresa was already tied up and possibly dead when Stephen may have tricked Brendan into involving himself. He had told Brendan to go ahead, have sex with her, that Teresa won't mind if Brendan had sex with her. Steve said a very short time later, Brendan had came out of the bedroom and asked him if that lady is dead or is she just a heavy sleeper because Teresa had never moved or woke up.
It may or may not be believed. It'll depend on all those other circumstances.
Well, what do you think? I mean, this is your case. What do you think?
I don't know.
You have to have an opinion on this, Ken.
And if I did, I wouldn't share it with you because it isn't something, it isn't a rabbit hole that I really want to go down.
And perhaps that's because Brendan Dassey's case is still very much ongoing. A judge recently overturned his conviction, though he remains behind bars while the state of Wisconsin appeals.
What's interesting about this one is that it actually helps the nephew, Brendan Dassey, who is now appealing.
The main actor clearly is Stephen Avery. It's not Brendan Dassey. Brendan Dassey, in my opinion, never would have raped or killed Teresa Halbach without the involvement of Stephen Avery.
Could this letter in some way affect Brendan Dassey's appeal?
Probably not the appeal, unless there is a piece of physical evidence. His appeal is going to rise or fall on whether or not that confession is going to be upheld by the federal courts.
But could this letter about Avery's alleged confession affect his attorney's latest plans to get his conviction overturned? The letter does reveal never-before-heard details about jewelry Stephen may have taken from Teresa, and even a knife used to kill her that he may have stashed.
Is it possible that there is some new information in this inmate informant letter that's been made public?
Absolutely. We didn't find a knife or any other cutting instrument that at least Brendan said was involved. I've got a sneaky suspicion, though, that law enforcement will be looking into the new allegations that are made in that letter.
Though it remains to be seen what, if any, impact this new letter will have on the ongoing investigation, or if it will make its way into the recently announced Season 2 of Making a Murderer. The one thing that does seem clear is that when it comes to one of the most controversial cases in the history of criminal justice, we're nowhere close to a final verdict.
Crime Watch Daily goes to court with a legal superstar making history as America's youngest judge ever. Next. At 25 years old, most people are just beginning to work on their careers. I know that's what I was doing, cutting my teeth as a TV news reporter in Detroit, Michigan. But this next woman, well, she seems to have things figured out early, making history with her new job. Here's Pat Lalama.
She could be a pageant contestant.
Obviously received a lot of attention, but in a great way.
But you won't believe the job this young South Carolina woman has. She's a judge.
I have a duty beyond the courtroom to inspire, to uplift, and empower. And I love doing just that.
You heard right. At the tender age of 25, despite the odds, statistics, and circumstances, Jasmine Twitty became the youngest judge in the history of the United States.
My appointment is bigger than Jasmine Twitty. I feel as though I share this moment and experience with so many people around the country, around the world.
The legal superstar presides over the court in Easley, a small town of around 18,000 in the northwest part of the state. She says even as a kid, her personality paved the path to her success.
Driven, daring, bold, and I always knew that I was interested in government.
Believe it or not, this now 27-year-old judge, who has a BA in political science, doesn't even have a law degree. South Carolina does not require one for a summary court judge. In fact, Twitty never even went to law school.
I started working at what was then the only 24-hour court in the state of South Carolina, and working there and being surrounded by judges, I'm the type of person, anything I want to know, I will ask you 1,000 questions. I learned that, I could eventually attain the experience and knowledge necessary to become a summary court judge in the state of South Carolina.
5 years of hard work at the courthouse paid off. The moment Jasmine got the news of her appointment to the bench is etched in her mind.
On a Tuesday morning, I got that phone call and I was super excited. I called my family. For me, it was official once I had actually taken the oath of office and had been confirmed by the mayor and city council.
Soon came Twitty's swearing-in ceremony. The entire family there for the historic occasion.
The picture that went viral, you could see one of my sisters and my brother holding the Bible. And for me, that was very important, and I couldn't imagine anyone else being up there to share that moment with me.
As an associate judge, Jasmine presides over bond hearings, which means when a defendant is arrested, they have the right to appear in Twitty's court within 24 hours. It's a round-the-clock job.
A judge has to be on duty rain, sleet, snow, nights, weekends, and holidays. That comes with the territory of the job.
Despite her phenomenal success, Twitty tells Crime Watch Daily her respectable title didn't come easily, and she was filled with doubt after being rejected for other judgeships.
Truthfully, I did start to, question my worth, whether it was age, experience, but I had to remind myself, that I am capable.
Jasmine attributes her success in part to her mom and dad's no-nonsense approach to parenting and instilling the importance of community service. It's the passion that drives her every day.
Anytime I visit a classroom, which is something I thoroughly enjoy, even before becoming a judge, I visited classrooms quite often to, facilitate college readiness workshops. I believe early exposure is the best exposure, and I'm sure somewhere along the way I've met some future judicial leaders.
And as Twitty's career is on the rise, she shares her straightforward recipe for success.
I personally believe if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail.